time.
Mel Gibson's young son has just been kidnapped in Central Park, and that scene from Ransom, one of the 5 new movies this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Mel Gibson is the reason to see Ransom because he gives a strong performance in a movie that is otherwise not all that it could be. He plays a maverick airline owner whose young son is kidnapped during a science fair in Central Park. Gibson's wife, played by Renee Russo, fights panic.
Sean? Sean Mullen, please come to the judge's stand.
At first, Gibson is prepared to pay the $2 million ransom asked by the kidnappers, and he's ready to follow instructions from an FBI kidnapping expert played by Delroy Lindo.
We set? No! Any demands, but come up. Now, you just agree. You didn't know he's in charge. Your only priority is getting your boy back. Get your boy back. You follow me? Now, you've got to give us some time, Mr. Mullen. You have to speak to your son, ask for some sign that he's alive. Any information you can get. Then tell him he has an allergy. He has some medical condition. You want to know what kind of weather is he in? Is he indoors? Is he outdoors? Are we set? Go!
The movie deliberately makes no secret of the kidnappers' identities. They're a group led by crooked police detective Gary Sinise.
Yo, you get me a lawyer, right?
You get your own lawyer.
The kidnappers include his girlfriend, played by Lily Taylor, and others who debate what they'll eventually do to their captive.
Second, man, Clark, you never said nothing to me about killing no kids.
Do you understand what is going on now? You do not joke with this kid. You don't play with him. You don't talk to him.
Don't talk to my brother,
He's
all
not
right?
your pet. This is real.
Meanwhile, Gibson becomes absolutely convinced that the kidnappers have no intention of ever letting him see his son alive again. So he conceives a desperate plan.
This is what waits for the man who took him. This is your ransom. But this is as close as you'll ever get to it. Instead, I'm offering this money as a reward on your head.
The Ransom screenplay is based on a 1956 movie of the same name starring Glenn Ford. This version, directed by Ron Howard, is ambitious in the way it tries to show the kidnapping against the backdrop of Gibson's entire life. He's fighting bribery charges. He believes in doing everything himself. He has to battle with his anger. All of those elements add up to a rich performance by Gibson and a story that's entertaining without, however, being absolutely riveting. I was disappointed, for example, by the final confrontation scene between Gibson and Sinise, which I thought with better writing and editing could have generated a lot more suspense. But on balance, thumbs up for Ransom.
I had the same reaction, Roger. Actually, I like the last scene, but it is Gibson. Gibson buys this story and the big plot twist that occurs in the story, and he sells it. He sells it within the context of the world there, and also to us. The part that I didn't like is the opening stuff, where you see the child in jeopardy. Now, I know it's a kidnapping thing, but to having to sit through the shots of the kid tied up in bed and mouth taped and all this, that stuff to me is just so repellent and so easy and cheap that I thought, well, now what's the purpose of this? Here's a $50 million, maybe $70 million Hollywood enterprise focusing on a child in jeopardy like that, and I thought too much, distasteful.
Well,
until Gibson kicks in, does it really work?
I didn't enjoy those scenes. I don't think, however, that the movie did linger on them. As for the end scene, which you liked, I felt that Gibson, one of the problems is it takes him too long to figure out what's going on, and there's just about 2 shots too many of his eyes narrowing as he looks over at his son and figures something out. And I felt that that scene, which was supposed to be the payoff, could have been better edited.
I like that, and I like the scenes that follow that. The finish, I think, is pretty strong. Next movie, and our next film is Set It Off, a bank robbery picture where not for a second you could believe that these thieves would be successful. And not because they're women, they're just so disorganized, so theatrical. In Set It Off, 4 young women who need money and feel that by stealing it from a bank, they're just stealing it from the system, decide to pull off a job to make ends meet.
The 4 of us could take a bank. Look at that crackhead Darnell could rob a bank. We could take a bank.
20 G's would save my life right now. Stevie needs tuition.
But time out, please, in this sometimes goofy movie for a little romance. A most improbable one between a bank officer in a business suit, Blair Underwood, hitting on a woman in blue jeans, Jada Pinkett, right in the lobby of his bank.
Actually, Miss Dorsey, I'm a manager in corporate banking upstairs. I don't know what these folks do down here, but when I saw you, I said to myself, I said, Self, a woman that fine, as fine as you are, and you are that fine, needs to have her own personal banker.
Here's a typical robbery. They're dressed up like a cross between the Supremes and lumberjacks, and the robbers suddenly realize they're at the wrong bank. That's plain silly.
Okay, we didn't case this bank, okay? We cased Downtown Federal.
They're all pretty much the same.
The robberies feature cars crashing through walls, in and out of banks. That proves that Set It Off wants to be both a traditional action picture and some kind of social statement. I don't think it works very well as either. Thumbs down for me.
Oh, Gene, you really missed the boat this time. And one of the problems is that all you did was just look at the plausibility of this film without touching the human elements. The economic predicament these women have, the emotional predicament, the brother, the child, the problems, the way that she's fired in the wonderful opening scene.
The opening stuff of their plight is heartbreaking, what happens to them. Then we get a routine action picture to follow.
First of all, it's not routine.
Oh, I think it's
secondly,
very. You don't think crashing through a wall in a bank and out in the back isn't Schwarzenegger time all over again?
I think that it's very well done, first of all. Secondly,
what do you like how the bricks fell?
You've left out the entire setup about why they have to crash through the wall. That wonderful scene involving the cops stopping the homeless man on the sidewalk so they can't get out of the bank. And then what are they going to do? And this woman thinks of something to do, and she tries to do it. You know, when you get into this movie in terms of who the people are, it really works. It's much better than the other women buddy pictures this year. It's better than The First Wives Club. It's better than Waiting to Exhale last year. It's the best of these pictures.
I don't think it's better than Waiting to Exhale.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, coming up next, Richard Dreyfuss plays a demented mob boss getting back to business in Mad Dog Time.
There's really no reason to, you know, get long-winded or fancy about this. I'm loony.
It's getting out. And he wanted me to personally thank you for keeping this girl company while he was gone. My pleasure.
Vic, the big gang boss, is coming back after spending time in a mental institution, and that's of interest to his second-in-command, played by Gabriel Byrne, and his hitman, played by Jeff Goldblum, in that early scene from Mad Dog Time. And because it is still early in the movie, it's of interest to us, too, until the sinking realization sets in that every single scene in this movie is going to be more or less exactly like that one. Here's another example. As Mick the Enforcer faces down Nick, a killer, both Mick and Nick hope to take over for Vic.
This is the part where you're plugging me once in the belly, but then you're going to waste 2 more shots with this shattering of the shin. Wow, wouldn't it be better to bury a bunch of bullets in my belly and skip that second part of the first part, go right into the first part of the second part, that, you know, a bit with the booze business, and then the blowing out of the brains bullet.
But that turns out not to be the real Nick. Later, Mick meets the real Nick, while Vic's girlfriend, played by Diane Lane, and Goldblum's sometimes girlfriend, played by Ellen Barkin, look on.
So sick of this, Nick.
Oh, and here's Vic, played by Richard Dreyfuss. Ben has just threatened to take over the mob. He did it my way, with special lyrics. Now Vic does it his way.
I judge a man's life by the way he dies, Ben. Your life was one note.
Mad Dog Time starts out with the information that it takes place in a parallel world on the other side of the universe. That's not far enough away for me. Scene after scene simply consists of characters standing around and talking tough before somebody gets shot to death. How in the world did anyone think this would be watchable, let alone entertaining? This movie is a humorless, witless exercise in pointlessness and a complete waste of the time and talent of the big cast of big names. I was shocked by this film.
Absolutely true. In fact, I think we'll be referring to this film in January when we do that list.
The worst list of the year. Yes, I think it will have a place of honor on that list.
I was kind of stunned, too. Richard Dreyfuss is listed as one of the executives involved in this, a producer of some sort in this picture. What did he find in this material? I don't have a clue. Did he like walking through as some kind of mafia don who's, you know, had mental problems and just getting out? Did he like walking through in a bathrobe? What drew all these other talents? These are big talents. These are quality actors. I have no idea.
Maybe they all got hallucinating after a screening of Usual Suspects and thought this screenplay had some similarity to it. I would have loved to have been at the pitch meeting.
Okay.
I would have loved to hear the pitch. Somebody's going to spend millions of dollars on this picture. What do you tell them?
Okay.
How can you convince them there's anything in this movie that anybody wants to see?
I'm going to tell you, I think you put your finger on it when you said Usual Suspects, and I'm going to cite Reservoir Dogs. I think this is a bunch of 40 to 50-year-old guys thinking, hey, here's the way the world's going with Tarantino, so we're going to make one too. It'll work. This is what people want, and they have sold themselves out and leave us with a bum movie. Coming up next, Nick Nolte works for America but talks like a Nazi. Whose side is he on? Mother Night is next.
As high as you can go. To do this right, you'll have to commit nothing less than high treason.
That's Nick Nolte as an American writer being solicited by American intelligence officer John Goodman to pose as a Nazi sympathizer and infiltrate the German high command in Mother Night, a well-meaning but largely ineffective film that proves it's not easy to translate complex novels into film, especially ones rife with irony. Based on Kurt Vonnegut's 1961 novel, Mother Night, has Nolte's character simply accepting the offer to spy and suddenly becoming very popular as an anti-Semitic hate-monger, giving radio pep talks in Germany during the Third Reich. He's shockingly good at his propaganda, as his German father-in-law tells him.
All the ideals that make me proud of being a Nazi, they came not from Hitler, not from Goebbels, but from you.
Now the story jumps forward from World War II to the early 60s. Nolte is being hunted by the Israeli government as a Nazi collaborator, and he's confided to a friend, Alan Arkin, about his past.
Why don't you put pen to paper and set the record straight? It's about time you start writing again anyway.
I'm afraid dead men don't write very well.
No, that's not true. All the best writers are dead.
Nolte's character also draws American hate-mongers as admirers, and here's where director Keith Gordon really loses control of his movie, not realizing that the most colorful characters in his picture are haters who make their venom seem so robust.
Please, allow me to introduce you to my bodyguard, August Kraptower, Vice Bundesführer Emeritus of the German-American Bund.
Great pleasure, Mr. Campbell.
And my secretary, Father Patrick Healy, former chaplain of the Detroit Gun Club.
What is the difference between a pretend hater and a real hater, this film asked. A better adaptation of the novel would have made this point quicker, maybe dropped some of the wild satire, and challenged Nolte's character more. As it now plays, Mother Night is guilty of what it condemns, romanticizing hate.
I am inclined to agree with you, Gene. I feel that you would have to have read the book and give this movie a lot of thought to be sure what it was trying to say. It is a confused and murky film that deals with very serious subjects in a way that it isn't really clear about. Now, Nolte is very good in the film. He gives a very good performance. It's a shame that this material wasn't focused and aimed in such a way that it got to the point that Vonnegut wanted it to get to instead of meandering around in some very confusing
areas. It took a very good director, George Roy Hill, I believe, to do Slaughterhouse-Five, another Vonnegut story, and I just don't think Keith Gordon and his screenplay adaptation are equal to that.
When we come back, Christopher Walken and Chris Penn are mobsters looking for revenge in The Funeral. It's interesting, director's now at work, and one of the bleakest. He makes cop movies like The Shocking Bad Lieutenant and vampire movies like The Despairing The Addiction. His movies make most film noir look like shades of gray. And now here's his new film, The Funeral, which begins with the death of the youngest of three brothers in a New York mafia family. We see the victim in this flashback, played by Vincent Gallo. He's brought home the wife of a rival gangster and gets a chewing out from his older brother, played by Chris Penn, who won the Best Supporting Actor Award at the Venice Film Festival.
Wait till he finds out we torched the store. Wait till he finds out. What do you think he's gonna do when he finds that out? This is nothing.
Johnny, what
this is nothing. Nothing.
What are you trying to do?
What am I trying to do? What am I trying to do?
Are you trying to get
so stop it!
Stop it!
You know what you
back off!
That's Isabella Rossellini as Penn's wife. The oldest brother in the family, played by Christopher Walken, vows revenge after the murder and argues about that with his wife, played by Annabella Sciorra.
You want to get deep on it? All them Catholic scholars say everything we do depends on free choice. But at the same time, they say we need the grace of God to do what's right. I'll follow that, Gene. If I do something wrong, it's because God didn't give me the grace to do what's right.
Walken is a seasoned movie tough guy and proves it with his calm command when he confronts Benicio del Toro as the man who maybe committed the murder.
We should be taking over the Ford Motor Company instead of shooting each other. But I understand what the problem is. It's people like you. You can't be trusted. You are not trustworthy. It's the flaw in a criminal character. If you did not kill the kid, who did?
I don't know so. But at this point, I almost wish I had.
The Funeral is tough, dark, and despairing, capturing its 1930s Depression era. It's not about action and not about revenge. It's philosophical about the way that the code of the gangsters requires someone to die almost as a matter of bookkeeping. I thought the ending of the film was unnecessarily murky. I'm not sure I really completely understood exactly what happened, but I like the mood and the look and the performances in The Funeral.
The performances are fine, but I thought that the script was wildly overwritten, purple, and I know that I'm not saying that people in the mob profession can't have insight and can't have linguistic skills, but I thought that this was pretty much operatic kind of language. We just heard it and all, and I didn't buy it at that level. I don't have a clue either as to what the film is ultimately about.
Well, that's strange because I can't tell you exactly who killed the brother. I just can't. I'm not quite sure. I know who I think killed the brother, but I'm not sure.
I don't think my intuition is probably not interested. I think he wants to say something about the way families operate.
I like that part of it. I like Walken's intellectualizing of the violence and talking about what he had to do. I like
it. Seems so modern and contemporary against the period that's being here that I thought it really worked at cross purposes. Coming up next, our video pick of the week featuring a performance I think is worthy of Oscar consideration, but I just know she's not going to get it.
Oh, what have I done?
Video pick of the week is brought to you by Raisinets. At the movies or anytime, Raisinets.
My video pick this week is I Shot Andy Warhol, featuring the gutsy actress Lily Taylor in the unlikable role as Valerie Solanas, the bitter feminist who in the 1960s founded a group called Scum, the Society for Cutting Up Men, and actually shot and wounded artist Andy Warhol because he wouldn't take her seriously as a writer.
I have like an hour's worth on tape here, and I was just wondering, maybe you could just do like a monologue for me.
No, I mean, I can't just monologue like that. I mean, I need a stimulating person like yourself, to talk to. And I can't just do it on my own.
Oh, come on, Valerie. You say something dirty. That's so easy for you.
That's Jared Harris, Richard Harris's son, as Warhol, and their relationship degenerates quickly, but not before Valerie does make some sense intellectually about the relationship between men and women.
Pardon me, sir, can I use a dirty word? I got a quart on the market.
Excuse me?
Yeah, give me 15 cents, I'll give you a dirty word.
What's the word?
Men.
Lily Taylor is utterly convincing in the role, a female, more intellectual Ratso Rizzo type, if you think about it, but she won't be nominated for an Oscar. I Shot Andy Warhol is an independent feature that a lot of Academy members probably will never screen. She's also playing an unattractive, unlikable character, and her ideas are a threat to men, and men run the Academy. But none of this should take away from what Lily Taylor has done, create another memorable character. I Shot Andy Warhol, my video pick of the week.
Now for our new Viewer's Thumb segment. We're asking you to send us videotapes, no longer than 20 seconds, framed head and shoulders, to the Viewer's Thumb, Post Office Box 4400, Chicago, Illinois 60680. And this week, Diane Zucker of Willits, California, has some comments on Gene's review of Get on the Bus.
I'm Diane Zucker from Willits, California, and I'd like to respond to Gene Siskel's criticisms of his otherwise thumbs-up review of Get on the Bus by Spike Lee. Gene, you felt there was too much music and it took away from the storyline. I totally enjoyed every song in the movie and feel that if there's a busload of people going 3,000 miles to a celebration, that music would be an integral part of your trip. I think it was a great movie, and I'd say go see Get on the Bus.
And I agree with her, Gene, for a couple of reasons. First of all, most movies these days have a lot of music in them, and this one is one of the few that has a dramatic reason why there would be a lot of music, because these guys would obviously travel with bringing the music along.
Absolutely true, and I have liked the wall-to-wall music in every single Spike Lee picture, which puts me pretty much alone because a lot of people think he has too much music, it's sending cues. I just didn't think the musical selections were as thematic and as beautifully written as some of his previous scores. I don't think he's using the same crew, either his father or the Marsalises. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs up for the thriller Ransom with Mel Gibson selling an intriguing, if improbable, kidnapping picture. A split vote on the bank robbery picture set it off. I thought much of it was just plain silly and not worthy of the interesting characters created. Roger thought the film was a big success on many levels. 2 thumbs down, way down for the idiotic Mad Dog Time, and 2 thumbs down for Mother Night. And finally, a split vote on The Funeral. Roger liked its film noir aspects. I thought the highfalutin language simply did not work.
That's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including The Mirror Has Two Faces, romantic comedy starring Barbra Streisand and Jeff Bridges, and also Space Jam with Bugs Bunny's latest co-star, Michael Jordan. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.